I need some advice on how to get my partner to face our relationship troubles. I am a 33-year-old woman, and I have been with my partner, a 39-year-old man, for 16 years. We have one child who is 11 years old, and we own a house together. Our relationship is not hurtful, and we don't argue or fight often. He helps around the house and is all around a solid person. Many of my friends have called him one of the good ones. But he is also kind of a jerk. He's judgmental, unsupportive, and emotionally stunted. I promise I'm not name-calling. These are simply character traits. I've talked to him about this, and he responds with, "And I'm not changing for you." To give another example, he has proposed 2 times throughout our relationship. The first time was right after buying our house. While we were working on the house, he called me over to him. He took my left hand, looked at my ring finger, and held a drill bit up to it, checking the size. Then he asked me, "Where do you want the hole?" I asked, "What hole?" He responded, "The hole so you can stick your finger in it to show it off to all your friends." Thinking it was a joke, I laughed, called him a jerk, and went back to what I was working on. I didn't know this was a genuine marriage proposal until years later when he brought it up in a group setting. I was shocked. It was so long after the incident, and he decided to air this out for the first time with an audience. Add in the fact that at the time, we split everything 50-50, so the house was half mine anyway. I tried talking to him about it when we were alone, but he shot down every attempt. The second proposal happened 6 or 7 years ago. He gave me the ring on Christmas Day, and I said yes. He told me later that day he had it made 5 months ago, but forgot about it in the glove box of his truck. Cool. Thanks. We're still not married. I've been a stay-at-home parent on and off for the past 11 years. I had to leave every job I've had during this time because of his chaotic work schedule. We agreed that we didn't want our child in childcare. This was a mutual decision, and it would be completely fine if he didn't make countless comments about how all the money is his because he's the one with a job. I also have an autoimmune disease that is not well managed. For the past 11 years, I have been taking care of everyone else and not myself. Anytime I do something exclusively for myself, he calls me selfish. He knows this is a trigger word for me because of my narcissistic mother. I feel like I support him in every possible way. I take the brunt of household tasks and all the childcare responsibilities, listen to him vent about work, support his hobbies, and so on. Yet, my needs seem to always be secondary. We live in a small, 950 square foot, old house that has needed a new kitchen since we moved in 13 years ago. We started a remodel when we first purchased it, but we realized it needed a complete overhaul. I've been managing with temporary countertops and an extremely dysfunctional kitchen layout. To paint a picture, it takes 10 steps around a kitchen table to go from the stove to the sink. Cooking pasta with a toddler, an elderly dog, and 2 cats was a harrowing experience. So, we came up with a deal. He would get to build a 30-foot by 40-foot garage first, and we would fix the kitchen soon after. After all, we would need a place to assemble and store all the new cabinets. His garage was finished 5 years ago and has been steadily filling up. Anytime I bring up a plan or layout of the kitchen, there are always reasons why we can't do it. My breaking point was an argument 2 weeks ago, and this is a perfect example of the little ways he has picked at me over the years. The wall unit with all my clothes broke sometime during the night. I got up at 5-something in the morning, found the mess, and started cleaning. I was half asleep working on it when he came in and said, "Don't get so emotional about it." Dumbfounded, I didn't say anything, and he just went to work. Usually, I just move on. I've learned that trying to talk to him about things in the moment doesn't work. So I sent him a text later that day saying, "I'm really mad at you for saying, 'Don't get so emotional about it.'" Prior to your comment, the only feelings I had were gas and mild annoyance at the situation. I was just calmly putting clothes away that you don't wear or are out of season to make room for my clothes so they don't get damaged. I don't have any idea what I did to warrant your comment. It feels like you were intentionally trying to belittle me. He never responded and acted like everything was fine when he got home and refused to talk about it the few times I tried. Keeping up with this new tactic of writing, I spent several days composing a letter. It outlined how his actions over the years have made me feel, what I need going forward, asking what his perspective is, and that he should let me know when he's ready to talk, as we need to work it out or come up with a plan for separation. That was 4 days ago. He is acting like he didn't read it. I'm losing my mind. I'm not sure what my next steps should be. I'm too close to this, and I can't understand what's going through his head anymore. How do I get this man to face this? I can't tell if he's scared and avoiding it or if he's that indifferent. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. I'm going to hold your hand when I say this. He is hurtful. Lording finances over your head is abuse. Belittling you, for example, calling you selfish and emotional when you're being neither, is abuse. I'm guessing you don't argue or fight often because you back down every time there's a conflict brewing. You also state over and over that when you try to communicate with him, he just shuts down and refuses. How can you fight when he simply won't engage? You're clearly aware that he doesn't respect you or care at all about your needs, and there are no magical words that will make him change. You're setting an awful example of what a relationship should look like for your child. It's definitely time to move on from this train wreck. You deserve a whole lot better. Comment 2. He's not going to change unless he has to, and probably not even then. Unfortunately, couples counseling doesn't work with emotionally hurtful relationships, so I don't recommend you do that, though getting individual therapy would probably be helpful. Your 11-year-old knows you are unhappy, and he hears his dad tearing you down over nothing. Right now, the two of you are showing him that relationships are loveless, verbally hurtful, and miserable. He would doubtlessly have 2 happy parents who don't live with each other over one miserable and one mean parent. It's time to start thinking of separation with the aim of divorce. Now for the update. 3 days after sending my partner a letter, he texts me asking if we can talk that evening. I felt so many emotions, but I knew I had to prepare for this conversation. I spent the day cleaning the house, cooking dinner, and trying to get my head in the game. I wanted this talk to be productive and hopefully a turning point for us. When he finally came home, he was late and seemed so distracted. It felt like he couldn't care less about dinner. I tried to start a conversation, but it was like talking to a wall. After dinner, we finally sat down and I was ready to discuss the letter. But guess what? He brushed it off like it was nothing. He claimed he didn't even have time to read it. Can you believe that? Then he had the nerve to interrupt me and suggest our life is perfectly fine. He told me I should focus on being grateful. I was beyond upset at this point. I told him that I wasn't going to be grateful for being ignored and dismissed. He accused me of being dramatic and overreacting to little issues. I mean, come on, this isn't just about little issues. At that moment, I just couldn't take it anymore. I stormed out of the room and headed to the attic, where I started gathering my old things. As I was sorting through the boxes, I found an old birthday card from him. Inside was a promise of support and love that he had completely forgotten. It made me so sad to read that again. A few days later, I went to my parents' house for my mom's birthday. It was nice to be around family, but during the dinner, my mom brought up the topic of relationships. Everyone laughed and teased, but I could see my partner getting uncomfortable. It was almost like he was on the spot. When my dad jokingly asked about our plans for marriage, I couldn't help but watch my partner squirm. Later that evening, I overheard my partner talking to my brother outside. They were discussing me and how I was making things difficult. I was so hurt and angry to hear that. I decided to confront him about the conversation. We ended up in another argument in the driveway. He accused me of eavesdropping, but I told him that he was speaking about me behind my back. He acted like I was being paranoid, and that made me even more upset. I left the driveway and went back inside, determined to make a change in my life. I started planning a weekend trip with my kids while he was away. I wanted to reclaim some independence and show him that I could do things on my own. But then, I found out he had invited his parents over for dinner without telling me. Seriously? I decided to go ahead with my trip anyway. This was my chance to show him that I'm not just a stay-at-home mom. The night before the trip, I left him a note detailing my plans and asserting my need for space. On the day of the trip, I took the kids to a nearby lake and we had a blast. It felt so good to be out and about, enjoying life with my kids. But when I returned home, everything was a mess. The house was a mess and my partner was in a horrible mood. He accused me of abandoning him and the kids. Honestly, at this point, I was done. This led to another heated argument. I told him that I had been offered a part-time job. I made this decision during my trip, and I was really excited about it. But he was furious. He claimed I was ruining our family dynamics. In a fit of rage, he threw a plate against the wall and stormed out. Can you believe that? Later that night, he sent me a text asking if I was serious about the job. I told him that I was. The following week, I started my new job, and it felt amazing. He tried to re-engage with me, but I remained distant. I was focusing on my work and my kids. In the end, I decided to take a weekend trip with my children to visit a friend, leaving my partner behind. This was my time to bond with my kids and enjoy life, no matter how difficult things are with him. Edit. A few weeks after starting my job, my partner and I had another argument. This time, he threatened to take the kids if I didn't quit. I stood firm, refusing to give in. I also began discussing separation with my family. They supported me, even offering to help with childcare. Am I the idiot for calling out my boyfriend's lies after he ditched our daughter's birthday for a secret trip with another woman? My 26-year-old boyfriend, who is 27 years old, and I have been together for 7 years and have a 4-year-old daughter. We've had similar discussions in the past, but about 2 months ago, I brought up how I felt. I said I felt he was regularly angry and irritated with me, didn't show me much affection or kindness, and had high expectations of the housework. I felt that I couldn't do anything right and that his compassion and empathy towards me were lacking. For example, he works from home 5 days a week, and his job requires him to commute, usually a few hours there and back, 1 day a week, every other week. When our daughter turned 3, I went back to work for 3 days a week. Obviously, I look after my daughter on my 2 days off. I am the one who every day gets up early with her, does breakfast, gets her dressed, sorts her meals, puts her to bed, and so on, 7 days a week. He cooks dinner as he likes to cook, but other than that, I am the default parent, if you know the phrase. This is a bit tiring, but I'm happy to do it because I obviously love my child. My boyfriend stays in bed every morning until he has to get up, walk to the home office, and log on at 9. He rests or naps at lunchtime, and often rests or naps when he logs off at 5. However, anytime I try to broach a discussion about him possibly picking up a bit more housework, or, more specifically, giving me the occasional lie-in until around 9 or 10 a.m. on a Saturday, it always comes back to the fact that he works 5 days. He says that when my daughter is at nursery for a few hours, it is my time to rest. I have now started working 4 days, but nothing has changed. He now claims that he earns more, so he has to commit more to his job than I do for our household. I don't see how this relates to him picking up a bit more around the house. Also, I hate bringing up my chronic issues because it feels like I'm making excuses, but I have thyroid problems, depression, which has gotten severe in the past but I'm managing now, and polycystic ovary syndrome, all of which leave me tired and drained of energy. I raise this and say it does leave me tired, but that I promise I am doing my best. He has told me multiple times in the past that my best isn't good enough. Once, when he was very angry that I hadn't done anything that morning, he called me a sloth who does nothing. But I swear I am doing my best. I have sobbed to him before, trying to get him to understand that I am doing my best. When I am up with my daughter before work, I do cleaning, laundry, and whatever needs to be done. The unfortunate part is our house is only passable instead of super clean. I can't keep up. It got to the point where I was having massive anxiety because I knew it wouldn't be clean enough, and I didn't want it to make him grumpy and start getting angry at me about it. Having said all that, we still get on a lot of the time and have good laughs together. A lot of times when I expressed my anxiety about the cleaning, he would tell me not to worry about doing it. For the most part, when he is being calm and kind, He would tell me, of course, he knows I'm doing my best, and he doesn't expect me to do it all myself, that he needs to help more too. I felt like maybe I was making it bigger in my head. Anyway, so I explained all this to him, and he took it all on board. For the past couple of months, I feel like I have been living a different life. He's kind, patient, and is acting like he genuinely loves me. I feel safe to let my guard down again. But a few days ago, something changed back again. The patience and affection have withdrawn a lot. I'm trying to pretend it's all okay because I don't want me being shy to cause any arguments. Here's an example that just happened this evening. I need someone else's perspective on this. I feel like I can't trust my own judgment. I'm a sensitive person, and I just don't know what to think. So I picked up some dinner for us because we were both tired this evening. I got a few varieties of some ready meal pastas from Marks & Spencer. I told him I was going to mix the Alfredo with mushrooms and ham with the chicken Alfredo so we could both have a mix. In the container, all the pasta, mushrooms, ham, and chicken are all pre-cooked, so it's just a matter of warming them up. The packet recommended oven or microwave, but since I wanted to thoroughly mix them together, I decided to put both in a pan, mix, and gently warm them through. He came to the kitchen and was not happy. He said, "Why would I do this? How foolish was it that I didn't follow the instructions?" and said that now I've ruined the dinner and he can't eat it now. I tried to stay really calm and kind because I didn't want to cause anything. I was explaining that it was all pre-cooked and I was just warming it up so it didn't make a difference, but this made him more irate. He said it was absolutely ridiculous. Did I know anyone who would ever think of doing that? I said sorry and that I was just heating it up and didn't mean for it to be an issue. He went on for a few minutes about how foolish this was and why do I do things like this, etc. I went into the living room to have my dinner and was quite upset, but knew better than to show it. After a few minutes of silence, he said sorry for getting angry, but that there was no defending that I didn't listen to the clear rules on the packet. I don't know what to do. At our last discussion, I said if he starts behaving rudely and unreasonably on a regular basis again, I wasn't staying with him any longer. But am I being too sensitive? Is this a foolish reason to break up and leave our daughter with separated parents? He can be so kind, funny, and caring. He's excellent with our daughter. I do still love him. But when he's in his moods, there's an anxiety in my chest that I just can't deal with anymore. Almost forgot. I'm so sorry this is so long, but I'm at a loss and could talk for hours about this. If you've read to the end, thank you. You're a star. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Your boyfriend is a jerk. You do not deserve to be treated like this. Name-calling and losing control over something as simple as not literally following instructions on a packet is unacceptable. You sound wonderful just the way you are. If the roles were reversed, I would have said, "That's cool. You can make or get your own dinner." Comment 2. Ask yourself this. Do you want your daughter to grow up believing that this is how a man should treat his partner? Or imagine she's 20 and she tells you about a boyfriend who is exactly like your husband. Would you be excited for her? What would you say to her? There's your answer. Now for the update. It's been a month since the last incident with the dinner. Remember that? Yeah, it's still stuck in my head, like a bad song you can't escape. I thought things would settle down after that, but nope. Life had other plans. His mood swings intensified. Seriously, it's like I'm living with two different guys. One minute, it's all cuddles and patience, and the next, I'm tiptoeing around a landmine. So, our daughter had a birthday party, and guess who missed it? You got it, my ever-reliable boyfriend. I took our daughter to the party alone. It's not like I wanted to be the single mom at the playground, but I was so frustrated. I mean, come on, her dad should be there, right? During the party, I get a text from him saying he's busy. Like, what does that even mean? When I asked him later, he said he was working late but didn't provide details. Just a vague working late, as if that's an acceptable excuse for missing our kid's party. Here's the kicker. I've noticed he's been glued to his phone more than usual. Like, I get it. Work is demanding. But come on, it's like I'm competing for his attention with his phone. He promised he would attend our daughter's school play the following week. She was so excited to see him. She kept talking about it, asking if Daddy would bring her flowers like he did last time. I was just hoping he'd remember his promise. Then, the day of the school play, I get a last-minute text saying he couldn't make it. I mean, seriously? Our daughter was over the moon to see her dad, and poof, he's gone. After the play, he called, and I swear, he sounded more interested in whatever was happening in his background than what was going on with us. I confronted him about missing the play and his lack of commitment, and he just brushed it off, telling me I was overreacting. Of course, I was overreacting. Can't a woman be a little over the top when her partner keeps disappearing? So, I thought maybe this was a good time to invite my parents over for a family dinner, just to discuss some concerns, you know? He agreed, but his irritation was evident. Like, chill out, dude, it's just dinner. During dinner, he made rude comments about the food. It's not like I served him something gross. It was lasagna. Who hates lasagna? My dad tried to lighten the mood with some jokes, but my boyfriend? Nope, stayed cold and distant. After dinner, he snapped at me for not defending him. I should have jumped in and told my parents that he has the palate of a 5-year-old. He can defend himself if he feels offended, right? A week later, he announces he's going on a weekend trip with friends. Didn't mention where, which felt odd to me. I mean, he usually shares those details. So, I did something maybe a little sneaky. I looked at his social media to see if he posted about the trip. And guess what? He checked in at a resort with another woman. Oh, hell no. I confronted him about the trip when he returned, and he initially denied it. But then he admitted to going on the trip. He claimed it was just a getaway with friends and nothing romantic. Yeah, right. He accused me of being paranoid and not trusting him. And then he hit me with this gem. If I didn't trust him, maybe we shouldn't be together. I just stood there, mouth hanging open, like, seriously? He left the house, claiming he needed to cool off. The next day, he moved out without any discussion about our daughter. Not even a, let's talk about this. After a few days, he texts asking to meet and discuss our relationship. During the meeting, he suggested we should just be friends for the sake of our daughter. Friends? Really? The relationship ended with unresolved issues and a sense of betrayal. I just can't believe it. It's like, how did we even get here? Edit. I didn't notice any signs of infidelity before the trip. I felt he was distant, but didn't think it was this serious. Am I the idiot for refusing to stay with my boyfriend who chose beer over our relationship? I feel like I might be in denial about my boyfriend's alcohol issue. I am worried sick about him. The time that we have spent together so far feels like a dream at times, like a real-life love story. He can be a genuine, loving, and amazing person. He is such a caring partner and a wonderful supporter, and he feels like someone I truly envisioned having a future with. However, I can no longer deny or ignore to myself that he has a drinking problem. I thought at first it was the newness, maybe possibly anxiety from starting a new relationship. Everyone goes through exciting jitters when first meeting someone, and I thought he may have been drinking more due to that. But one 12-pack a weekend started turning into 2. Sometimes even starting a 3rd on long weekends we have spent together. And it's not like he gets super rowdy and drunk. He doesn't cause problems and isn't hurtful, but it makes me wonder how buzzed he truly is throughout our fun nights together, where most of the time I am sober. Why do I not deserve his sober time? I know I cannot blame myself for his issue, but it does sting to think about when I realize we cannot go to dinner without him having a drink or cocktail involved. We cannot have a picnic without wine. We cannot drive anywhere and have to walk to dinner because I feel in the back of his mind he wants a drink. We have stopped going to shows and concerts. Maybe it's a coincidence, but I deserve a boyfriend who wants to spend time with me and do things with me without always having to involve alcohol. I deserve a boyfriend who wants to put time into things with me and not get cranky in the morning without a white claw. I have even seen him drink early in the morning when we have woken up on the weekends before 9 a.m. And I worry about what this might be doing to his health. I don't want to have to watch the person I love go down this path. Let's just say my family has a past with alcohol addiction, and this hits very close to home for me. I have dealt with enough alcohol-related pain. I just want to see him happy, healthy, and free. I fear if he continues drinking this way, I will have no choice but to decide what's best for me. So here we are now, and this is how the past couple of weeks have played out. I have had the talk with him about my concerns. I sat down and had a very heartfelt conversation with him, setting my boundaries and saying that I love him, but that his drinking can no longer continue like this. He seemed to take it well, and we had a fine weekend with minimal drinking. However, the next weekend he came over. He brought a 12-pack with him, which was disappointing to me because he had promised me he was going to cut back. Now for an update. We did have another conversation where he told me that he really took what I said to heart and that he is working on himself and that issue. He told me he would no longer be drinking during the day and would only have a few at night, which I don't expect to change immediately because I know these things take time. But I am concerned that he is only saying words and not following through with his actions. I looked in the trash can after he left, and there were still more than 20 cans. He can say he is cutting back all day long, but his actions show differently. And I'm caught in a hard place because I have already invested in this man emotionally. I really do love him and wanted a future with him. However, I cannot see this continuing this way, and now it is starting to cause fights between me and my mother who lives with me. It's trickling down into everything. I don't know if I want to support someone through meetings and Alcoholics Anonymous and all the things that traumatized me as a child. Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Honestly, give him an ultimatum to make sure he's really serious about recovering and not just saying what you want to hear. I know it might trigger you to make him go to meetings and things, but he can't deal with this alone. He needs professional help and will keep relapsing if he doesn't get it. You can also choose if you want to support him through recovery, even if it triggers you, or if it would be best to just end the relationship now. You know yourself and the limits of your mental health better than others, so I trust you can make that choice. Comment 2. I am an alcoholic, 9 years sober. Run. It's the only way you can love him. He will never get sober if he doesn't see consequences. You cannot fix him. You will not be able to wait it out. You deserve better. Don't fall in love with a man's potential. Now, for the update. 2 days after my last post, I planned a family dinner at my house for my mom's birthday. I invited my boyfriend, hoping it would be a chance for him to show he could manage his drinking in a family setting. The day of the dinner, he promised to take it easy and only have a couple of drinks. I spent the day prepping food, setting the table, and decorating the living room with balloons. My mom arrived early to help, and we chatted while cooking together. The boyfriend showed up with a 6-pack, which made me uneasy, but I kept quiet. As guests arrived, my brother brought his girlfriend, and my sister came with her husband and kids. The boyfriend started drinking right away, cracking open a beer as soon as he walked in. During dinner, my dad made a toast to my mom, mentioning how proud he was of our family. My boyfriend interrupted the toast with a loud laugh, causing everyone to look at him. The mood changed as he kept chugging beers, and I noticed my mom's discomfort. After dinner, my brother suggested playing a board game, which used to be a family favorite. My boyfriend insisted on playing a drinking game instead, ignoring the family's preference. I tried to steer the conversation back to the board game, but was met with resistance from him. It got worse when my sister pointed out how the drinking game was not appropriate for the kids. He dismissed her comment, saying we could just go to another room. Frustrated, I called him aside to discuss how this wasn't the right time or place. He shrugged me off, claiming he was just trying to have fun and loosen up. As the night went on, he became increasingly loud and disruptive. At one point, he knocked over a drink, spilling it all over the table, which only added to the discomfort. My mom asked him if he could tone it down, which he took as a personal attack. He snapped back, saying we were all too uptight and needed to relax. My brother defended my mom, leading to a heated exchange between him and my boyfriend. Eventually, my boyfriend stormed out, claiming he didn't need to stay where he wasn't wanted. I chased after him, trying to calm him down, but he was already in his car. Before driving off, he shouted that I could choose my family over him if that's how it was going to be. We tried to salvage the night, but the mood had changed completely. My mom suggested we just enjoy dessert and forget about the awkwardness. A week later, I ran into him at a local grocery store and he looked disheveled. We exchanged awkward greetings, and I noticed he had a shopping cart full of alcohol. He tried to engage in small talk, but I could see he was still defensive. A few days later, my mom expressed concern over his behavior and suggested a break. He texted me a couple of days later, saying he was going to a party and invited me. I declined the invitation, stating I needed time to think about everything. Edit. We talked on the phone a few days after the text. He admitted his drinking was a problem, but didn't want to quit. He suggested an open relationship, which is why I declined his party invite. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.